In this video, I'll be explaining 5 halal jobs that you can go into with a degree that can pay over 6 figures. The first job, and we're going to go by an order of nobility too, inshallah, because of course, when you're going for a halal job, you want to have the highest earning impact for yourself, and also you want to have an impact on society too. So the first job that we'll be covering is, of course, none other than becoming a doctor. Now, becoming a doctor, you need certain qualifications. So if you're starting out and you're a young student right now thinking, what profession should I get into? Becoming a doctor is very good if you're already getting good grades. And of course, if you're a mature student or if you're someone who's older, then there are different paths into getting to becoming a doctor. However, in this video, we'll go through the traditional route. So normally, to become a doctor, you need to go to medical school, and that course can take you up to 4 to 6 years, depending on what university you go to. They all have their own criteria. Some are 4 years, some are 5 years, and some are 6 years. But in any case, after you finish that degree, then you go on to what's called foundational training. And the foundational training for a doctor is 2 years. And normally you'll go to the NHS and you'll go into different departments working there, and either working in A&E, going into surgical departments and so on, and you will get your training until your training doctor signs you off on the course. Thereafter, you can choose which specialism you want to go into. Now, specialisms range anything from 3 years up to 8 years, depending on how specialist and which field you're going into. Becoming a GP just takes 3 years. When I say just takes 3 years, you've already been studying for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, but you'll go for a further 3 years to become a GP, or up to 8 years to become a neurosurgeon. However, when you complete that training, then your earning potential as a GP is between 60 and 100,000 pounds, and of course, as a neurosurgeon, you're looking from 6 figures up until around about 250,000 pounds a year. So becoming a doctor is definitely one of those key jobs, professions in which you can earn 6 figures, and it's very noble because you're serving humanity, you're serving the people in their health, and you can get a lot of reward for that as well, inshallah. The second profession that we're going to talk about is becoming an engineer. Now, I know it's stereotypical. I want my child to become a doctor, I want my child to become an engineer, but there's a reason for that. It's because both of these, they serve society. So becoming an engineer is actually relatively fast compared to becoming a doctor, because you just need to do your A levels, and you need to go and do your degree, which is between a 3 and 4 year degree, depending on what specialism you want to go into. But then there are many options, just like after becoming a doctor, whether you want to become a civil engineer, whether you want to become a mechanical engineer, or whether you want to become any other type of engineer. You can even go to architecture. So the on-the-job training is anything from as little as 6 months up to 2 years, depending on your specialism in which you want to go into. But your earning potential in the earlier years are quite low. So the earning potential when you become a doctor, even as a trainee, you're starting on around about 35,000 pounds. However, if you're working for the NHS or any government-based hospital, normally your earning is capped at certain bands. So then you'll be paid according to those bands. As an engineer, it depends on the company that you work for. So if you're working for, and of course you can work for the government too, but if you're working for a company, then each company has their own structure, and therefore you can maybe change jobs according to the pay packet which is being offered to you. So you can go from around about 60,000 pounds all the way up to 100,000 pounds just by changing what company you work for. So becoming an engineer is a much faster route, and definitely you can go into the 6 figures quite quickly. There are some certain areas where you get paid more. So even if you look at mechanical engineering, for example, if you're a car mechanic or a car engineer, you may be paid around about between 50 and 80,000 pounds. However, if you're a train engineer, then you're paid anything from 60 to about 120,000 pounds. And that's still quite early on in your career. Of course, as you become more and more experienced, then your salary goes up. I once met a train engineer manager, and he had done train work on the tracks for around about 8 years, and then thereafter he went into management, and he was on around about 200,000 pounds a year. So definitely a very lucrative job and profession that you can go into. The third halal job that you can go into is into IT. And IT is massive today. Of course, we know everything is IT based. In fact, one of my uncles who is in IT, he said to me that whatever you want to do in life, if you can ensure that you're good with computers and you're good in coding or you're good in some areas of IT infrastructure, then you will always be paid more than the person who doesn't have those skills. And he's absolutely true, because IT is everywhere. And the more you know how to use computers, whether that's software or hardware, whether it's around networking or cybersecurity, it doesn't matter what area you're in, you're always more valuable. And becoming a or highly paid in IT is actually a lot faster. And in fact, it's the fastest way on all of this list that we're going to be going through on how you can earn six figures. So cybersecurity is, of course, very hot at the moment. You've got coding, you've got certain skills which are always more valuable in any industry, and it's the same for IT. I know one of my friends, his two daughters are in IT, and one of them, after just working in the industry for 6 years, is on £100,000, but her older sister, who's been in the industry for 7 years, but is in a different specialism, is actually on £275,000, and that's working in IT. So a very lucrative career. If you go into the slightly lower value areas of IT, then you can be on below £100,000 for a very long time. So choosing the right area of specialism with IT is absolutely key. The fourth halal job in which you can earn six figures is becoming an accountant. So becoming an accountant, normally you have to get a degree for between 3 and 4 years, and then you'll go on to get further professional qualifications like maybe the ACCA and the SEMA. So it really depends on where you're going, and it can take anything up to about 5 to 6 years to become a fully fledged accountant. But once you've become an accountant, then your starting salaries are quite high, because as an accountant, you're working with businesses. And of course, businesses always have more cash to spend, and therefore you can demand a higher salary. And if you're working as an independent accountant servicing businesses, you can be on £100,000 very, very quickly. If you're working in a job, it might take you a little bit longer to get up to that six-figure mark. However, you will get there. And of course, there are many options in accountancy to earn six figures. Whether you want to become a financial director or a chief financial officer or an auditor, all of these are very high value, and you can easily earn multiple six figures as an accountant. And the last halal job here is to become a lawyer. And to become a lawyer, normally you need to go to law school and you need to do your LLB, which is around 3 years. And thereafter, you'll do further professional qualifications. If you want to become a solicitor, it's another year's training thereafter. If you want to go into different areas of law, then it can be up to 2 years. And then once you've done those qualifications, you go to on-the-job training. And through law, with law, it's very difficult to start your own practice immediately. So you would need to go through a company, an existing law firm, to get that training and to move up the ranks. And then once you've got your qualifications and you're experienced and people know that you're a competent lawyer, and then you can command anything from £60,000 upwards as a lawyer. One thing to consider with an accountant and also a lawyer, you need to stay away from those areas of accountancy and law in which you get involved in interest, because it's quite easily you can get involved in areas of commercial law or commercial accountancy in which you're dealing with haram based mechanisms and structures, and you need to stay away from that. With becoming a doctor, engineer, and IT, it's actually quite difficult to fall into haram activities in your job. But as an accountant, and as a lawyer, and especially if you're working towards commercial law, which normally actually command the highest fees, so you can easily become a six-figure earner in those two areas, in area of commercial law. However, it's easy to get involved in interest and haram-based transactions. So be careful with that. But of course, there are many Muslim accountants and many Muslim lawyers who are acting in areas of accountancy and law who are earning a good salary and are completely clear of any of these haram-based activities in those two professions. Now, in my business, I'm always dealing with accountants and lawyers all the time, and the amount of fees that they charge me is unbelievable. So my lawyer, for example, his standard rate to charge me is £450 an hour. And my accountant, who I've known for some time, and he's actually part of the business, he gives me a discounted rate, at just under £100 an hour. Normally, an accountant, a commercial accountant, will charge about £150 an hour plus. Now, the reason why there's such a difference between the accountant and the lawyer is because the accountant has his own firm and it's a small firm. The law firm that we work with is a larger firm, and therefore they charge the higher amount of fees per hour. If I was to go to a regular accountancy firm and get my services from them, then of course they would normally charge me around about £200 per hour plus. So again, the amount of fees that I pay to accountants and lawyers is absolutely unbelievable. It's what I consider a necessary evil to get my business done. But that gives you an understanding that when you're working with businesses as an accountant and as a lawyer, then you can easily earn multiple six figures very quickly. So I hope this video gives you an idea of what kind of degree you want to go for, what path you might want to take. But definitely these five professions are very, very lucrative for your career over the long term.